I'm Terry Owens. Welcome to Conversations with TL, where people share stories about how they've overcome challenges to improve their lives and the lives of others. I was flipping through a social media platform recently and I came across this video. I don't know about you, but I like to share stuff on social media. And so I shared this video and I was not prepared for what followed. My timeline began filling up with likes and hearts, and people were sharing the video. Few people even admitted that it had moved them to tears, and that got me feeling good. This was a video about a family holiday gathering, and the patriarch of the family was struggling with dementia. She was seated off by herself and completely oblivious to all of the activity that was going on around her until a granddaughter intervened. She grabbed her grandmother, took her out to the garage, put her in the old family truck, and took her for a ride around their hometown. And that activity began to trigger things in the grandmother. And she started noticing things and she spoke. And finally, she started to ask about people. And it was just an amazing video. And it reminded me of the power of story. This was a commercial. This was a commercial about Chevrolet. But not once in that video was the name of the company mentioned. It was just this story that moved people in ways that you can't imagine. In fact, two friends actually got into an argument because they were going back and forth about the veracity of the story. There is something about the power of story. And if you'd like some help delivering your story, we'd love to help you. Just shoot me an email at terry@owensmediagroup.net. Let me put that up for you so you can find it easily. That's terry@owensmediagroup.net. My team and I would love to help you. And now to today's guest. She knows firsthand what it's like to be on a healthcare journey with a loved one who is struggling with an issue. Tanise Bethel Guerra is a registered nurse and the founder of Rest Assured Home Care, a business she started after struggling as a young mother to find help for a daughter with special needs. Let me bring her onto the set right now and say hello to Tanise. Tanise, welcome to Conversations with TL.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, we are delighted to have you. I've had a chance to get to know you a little bit. I was moved by your story, and I thought the folks on Conversations with TL might also find some value there. You are a registered nurse, and I want to begin there and ask what it was that drew you to the healthcare profession.
Well, I remember being in the eighth grade when I landed my first job. I was hired by my aunt, who also was a registered nurse. She just opened her own assisted living facility to help some adults with disabilities. So she hired me to be a caregiver. And she told me that I would need to do things like assist them with their meals and, showers. And that was something I really enjoyed. I especially enjoyed hearing about their life stories and the things that they had done throughout the day. So when I got older, I knew that I would be a caregiver. So I went to school to be a registered nurse.
And then you became a mom.
And then I became a mom. I did. When I became a mom, it was the most gratifying thing. It was like the most empowering job that I thought I could ever land. It was the special gift for me because I had come from a large family. My grandmother has 13 children, so we really do place value on family. So I was excited that God had blessed me with a baby.
But your child had some special needs, which presented some special challenges for you. Talk about the struggles you faced working as a nurse with the kinds of shifts that you had, and then coming home to care for a child.
That's exactly right. This was something that I was not prepared for. I have been a caregiver my entire life, but having to manage the challenges of special needs with my own daughter were pretty cumbersome. It was difficult to find good help, I must say. And I would find myself in between jobs just because I wanted to be the one that give the compassionate care that my daughter need. But then I realized that if I didn't have a job, I wouldn't have any income. So I needed to go back to work, and I hired a caregiver. That caregiver was so essential in our lives. She was someone that we could trust. She was someone that provided compassion. She gave me a little freedom so that when I was doing my 12-hour shifts at the hospital as a nurse, I could come home and get some rest and not give my daughter, the leftover care, the leftover energy that I had left from the hospital shift. She would take over for me. That was so valuable.
And somewhere along the way, you developed the entrepreneurial bug. How did this happen?
Well, I decided that I wanted to let others experience the benefits of caregiving the way that I had experienced the benefits of caregiving. My daughter really benefited from that because she began to gain weight and she was thriving in ways that I didn't even know was possible because I had not seen the other side of that. It wasn't until I hired a caregiver that I was able to see the benefits for my daughter. I mean, she was getting one-on-one care, so she was getting total attention from the lady that was caring for her, and I found value in that. So I have often been in communities or in other groups with women that have children with special needs and have the same challenges where they're unable to find someone that they could trust to leave in their home and take good care of their child. You can imagine, a mother's love when it comes to their child. They only want the best for them. They only want the best for them. So that's where my entrepreneurial journey began. I wanted to find the best for them.
Mm-hmm. And say more about the importance of keeping your child home. There were other options. You could have put her in facilities and that sort of thing, but you wanted her to be at home. Why was that important to you?
Well, in my early nursing career, I worked in a skilled nursing facility. And it was one of my favorite jobs, but I noticed that the residents would get lonely at times. They didn't get to see their families as often. And especially around the holidays, it was extremely glim. The atmosphere was down and there were few smiles on their faces, and it was difficult to cheer them up. So I didn't want my daughter to experience that. I didn't want to have her experience the loneliness or not seeing someone that she would recognize often. So it was my commitment to keep her at home and take care of her at home.
Good. And how's she doing today?
She's great. Now she's 26 years old. She recently celebrated a birthday. So we've been doing some things to celebrate every milestone because I really am excited about the way that things turned out. It was a difficult challenge to overcome, but I am excited the way that things are today.
And talk about how your business is doing.
Business is good. Who knew that other moms like me would be looking for caregiver services? It has been quite a journey. There's quite a few who need the assistance, and sometimes I'm not able to help them all, but I do my very best at helping as many as I can, because they get to see the benefits through my journey. They get to experience, what I have learned from a professional standpoint as a registered nurse, but also what I've experienced personally as a mother. So that's the best part for me, is being able to give them both sides of the story so that they can understand, that the journey does get better. Just we need the help to get through the journey.
So there may be someone watching today who is in a similar situation and find themselves at their wits' end. They aren't quite sure what to do. They love their child, but they, like you, have to also be able to provide for them. What do you say to a parent who finds themselves in that situation and not quite sure which way to turn?
Well, the first thing I want them to know is it's okay to ask for help. Because sometimes us as mothers, we try and do it all. We multitask and multitask and multitask until there's no more task. But then we don't think about how we've divided up those tasks and our time and our energy until it's too late. So don't wait until it's too late. Ask for help now. Give us a call and let us work it out for you.
Say more about that. What does too late look like?
Too late is when your family member starts to exhibit signs of depression, withdrawing. They don't want to be around others. They're very sad. Sometimes they cry. They start to lose weight. They start to lose interest in eating. Day-to-day activities for them are no longer of interest. And those things are very important. And they are essential for them to thrive. They really do need to eat, and they really do need to eat healthy meals. They really do need to have assistance with their daily activities, because those are the things that they find value in. Most of the time, our elders and our children have seen things where they know there's a difference in the good and the bad. And they realize that they may be losing some of the good because they don't have all of the things that they've had before. The memory starts to fade. Sometimes they don't get to see their family as often. And those things are very concerning, because lots of the time they would like to talk about their life accomplishments, but they don't have the companionship of another to speak about those things with. So those are some of the things that we see that are very crucial in finding how adults with disabilities and seniors thrive.
Do you find we're doing better as a society in supporting families with special needs children? For years, they were things that just weren't talked about. It was sort of, you whispered about the aunt that may have been struggling with dementia, or the child that had an issue. Are we more receptive? Are we doing a better job at giving grace, I guess?
I think still too, it really depends on your connections, because if you don't find the people who have the information, then you usually don't get the information. So it's really, really important to be connected with somebody that can get the information to you. I will tell you that there are more resources available than previous times, but you just have to be able to access them. And you kind of do need to know what to look for. Sometimes, in my opinion, I used to be at the point where I was thinking, like, why don't they just do it? Like, why don't they just do it? But the truth is, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And sometimes reaching out for help with the right person is the key to all of your, to the answers for all of your situations.
Yeah, because some will say, well, she's a registered nurse. Of course, she knows what to do and where to look for these resources. And so many people struggle with that. And so there are resources out there. You've just got to do the work to identify those resources and find a way to bring them into your situation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. So if you would leave me with a parting thought about how families with special needs kids need to be preparing themselves, because it can, you identified this very early in your child's life, and she's now 25, 26 years old. So this is something you lived with and dealt with for a long time.
Yes. One of the key things is your healthcare provider, your physician, your medical doctor, sometimes even your specialist. They are the key to tying you to the resources that you need. But then you need to be able to explain to them your living situation so that they understand your needs. This is usually where things are left undone, because the parent, the mom, usually has trouble expressing their needs. Mm. Sometimes it's out of guilt or out of shame, but there's nothing to be ashamed. You need assistance, and you have to be able to explain that to your physician so that they can point you in the direction of the resources that will benefit you.
And how has the power of your story helped you better connect with clients or other resources to get the help that you need and allow you to help others?
So one of the things that helps me connect is my experience, my story. So sometimes people are ashamed, or as you said, they don't speak of the things that they're dealing with personally, because they tend to shy away from having everybody know what's going on in their life. But I have made it my best business to explain to them the things that I have gone through, because I know that sometimes they're going through those things in silence and they don't want to speak about it. But I want to let my story be a display of what I've gone through so that they know that someone else has gone through that same thing and there's a way out. There's a bridge.
Well, Tanise, I know you're down in Florida, and there are different resources available in the various communities. But is there a central place? You mentioned your healthcare provider, but is there a central network that people can go for help who are trying to support special needs kids?
No, not at this time. I can't say that I know there's a central place for special needs children. Usually the main resource is the public school, because that's where my journey began. My daughter was in public school. She started out in pre-K when she was 4 years old. And then the teachers that were a part of the special education department were able also to connect me to resources, because they have in the past had children with a similar situation. Maybe sometimes the mom just doesn't know what to ask for, but them as professionals get to see this more than once. So they get to direct the parents in the direction that they should go. So your professionals, paraprofessionals in the school, therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, even your physician, those are all points of contact that you should be explaining your situation until you get the proper resource.
And you made a great point there about sometimes parents, young parents, not knowing what to look for. I recall you saying you noticed something in your daughter's developmental skills that appeared to be a little slow, yet you still had her off to pre-K, and it was there that you finally said, okay, maybe there is something in fact going on here that we need to do a little more research.
So here's the thing. Usually when you have a newborn, there's resources for newborns. But it wasn't until my daughter was about 10 years old, and she didn't exactly fit into the stroller, that I bought from the department store. So things were getting a little difficult. How do I transport her? How do I get her to the car? She wasn't fitting in a car seat, but she still needed support, for sitting up. So those things were prompting me to seek out more help, because as she got older, her needs changed. It was easier to monitor and manage those needs when she was very young. 4 and 6 years old was still doable. But by the time she was 10 and things really started to change, she got older, she got taller, she started to gain a little more weight. Lifting her was a challenge. Getting her in the car was a challenge. Finding things for her to eat that would give her a good nutrition were challenging too, because she had issues swallowing. So I couldn't feed her just anything. It had to be something, that she could manage. And navigating those things were the things that prompted me to look for help, to reach out for help.
And so the key is to find help, and perhaps most important of all is to never lose hope. Resources are available, and you just have to seek them out.
Exactly. Hope is very key. Hope is very key. You need to be able to see your loved one for who they are, for their beaming personality, for the strengths that they offer, for the companionship that they long for. Those things will help you to make great decisions, because then you don't treat them as someone that's just in need, but as a loved one, someone you love and care for, that you see hope in their eyes when you look at them.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. Well, that is going to do it for us, Tanise. I am so glad you made some time for us today to talk about the power of story. It can change lives, and it certainly has made a big difference in your life. And through your work, you're changing the lives of others that you're supporting. So thank you so much for coming on to Conversations with Tia.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
All right. Let's go over here and say thank you once again for checking us out. We certainly appreciate it. Feel free to drop a comment if you'd like, or share a like. And as we do every episode, I encourage you to continue to strive towards your dreams and find a way to enjoy the journey. I'm Terry Owens for Conversations with TL. Have a great day, everybody.